lot of our listeners may be familiar with AutoCAD. Since our broadcast, especially from the Autodesk University, our next guest is the product line manager for AutoCAD, Eric Stover. Eric, welcome into Tomorrow. How you doing?
Great. Thanks, Dave, for having me.
It's a pleasure. Glad to have you because AutoCAD, of course, the product made Autodesk famous.
Yes.
That was really kind of the launching pad to AutoCAD being computer-aided design. Mm-hmm. And back then, how much design could it do?
So back in 1982, when it was first launched, it was essentially, the goal was to ideally replace the paradigm of using a T-square and a mechanical pencil, right?
Yeah.
And even mechanical erasers, if you remember those. But back in those days, you really could just get a sheet of paper out with some basic design intent on 2D, just a rough sketch of kind of like your building footprint or your mechanical part. Very, very rough. And in fact, it took us many years to actually even get like something as crude as dimensioning into their product. So people had to still use their hand and to actually write down the size and width. But over the period of time, the product has evolved to match the ever-increasing demands of our install base, and then also what the industry is expecting as far as these new design techniques. You've heard about sustainability and so on. So come a long way.
A lot of history with AutoCAD from a lot of people around the world using this product, and it has come a long way. I mean, even when it first came out, it was blowing people away. It's like, we can actually do this now with a computer. Go figure. And of course, now it doesn't even compare as far as what it does.
It's amazing. I mean,
it's like autopilot, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the great things about the product is that early on, the founders knew that if you let users customize or personalize their experience with it, it's almost a Swiss Army knife. They can make it do really interesting and incredible things. And what we've seen over the last 20 plus years is that people have actually taken AutoCAD and turned it into their own personalized CAD machine for making surfboards and roller coasters and golf courses. I've seen it all. And as you mentioned, around the world, it's just amazing what people have done with this technology.
It's got to give you the warm fuzzies too when you have such a cool product and your clients are doing neat things with it. Maybe in some cases stuff you never thought they'd do.
Right. So just like customizing a car, what we see people do is we've given them the engine and they've turned it into really fantastic machinery to tailor towards their particular needs. But just incredible.
And of course, we've been learning from some of your customers about digital prototyping and something they're calling building information modeling. And I understand AutoCAD certainly often a part of those processes as well.
Right. So with our customer base, typically they use a wide variety of software from Autodesk, whether they use Inventor, Revit, 3D Studio Max, in conjunction with AutoCAD. There's like one tool for every particular part of the process. And when we talk about digital prototyping, that's the idea that before you actually go to manufacturing, you want to showcase something in 3D and get approval and get buy-in from senior management. And so what typically happens is you get an engineer or designer to sit down at a CAD station, whether it's AutoCAD or Inventor or any number of other applications we've got, and they'll actually craft out something in 3D right away, show it to the owner. Somebody's looking over their shoulder, let's say, and they're like, well, make it do this, change that. No, that's not going to fit. That's not the right part. And they'll actually make changes in real time, and they'll be able to showcase, is this what you meant? And if that's so, then it goes into the next phase of engineering. And so AutoCAD plays a part on the conceptual design aspect of that, as well as when you actually want to create a 2D set of documentation. So with building information modeling, so this is the idea that your entire drawing set within architecture is coordinated, that if you move a window here, the entire building reflects that, right?
Yeah.
From all the energy analysis you may be doing, it understands that you've made a change. How does that affect the rest of your model? And so with AutoCAD in this environment, again, on the conceptual design front, when you're doing some early design charrettes, you can do energy analysis studies on those models to say, well, are we at the right orientation? How's the wind going to blow around, and given this placement of the building within a city. Then once that's done, take it right into Revit. You do all your information modeling there, and then you create the final good. So AutoCAD's the DNA in a variety of different workflows for our customers, as is many of our other applications that we sell.
That's a great analogy, Eric, the DNA, because
yes.
it really starts there. And of course, how impressive is it for an end user client to be able to see that 3D rendering early on and start conceptualizing the building itself and saying, this is what I'm looking for. Here's my thoughts. This is going to happen.
Yeah, nobody can look at a set of drawings and really understand what's going on, right? You really need that 3D really delivers a really great way to communicate your design intent.
Yeah.
You can move things around, you can orbit it, and see it in all different angles. You can't do that with a set of drawings. And that's why 3D is so important. That's why conceptual design is pervasive in all the industries that we serve.
It's a whole lot easier, it would seem, to move a building in that design element rather than once it's built.
I think so.
If it was only 6 feet more that way, the air issue would have been solved. But
and a lot less expensive.
Absolutely. Now, but just when you think it's safe, because AutoCAD's doing so much already, you've got AutoCAD 2010 or 2010 coming out.
Yes.
What other advanced tools is this going to have that's going to have everybody drooling, especially from the design world?
Well, one thing to recognize is that, let's take the architecture, for example, that not all buildings are square nowadays, right? And look at this, especially in Europe and in Asia Pacific as well.
Yeah.
You see a lot of really interesting architectural types. What we've done with 2010 is introduce this concept of mesh modeling to something that is called solid modeling. And what meshes allow you to do is to do very organic shaped models that allow you to tweak at very minute levels the surface topology. So you have Legos and you have clay, and that's what we've essentially introduced in AutoCAD 2010 is this clay paradigm that you can take a solid and be able to sculpt very interesting forms, whether you're doing tennis shoes or skis or architecture or mechanical design, you name it, much more flexibility to actually create a form that you're after, rather than just saying, working with a handful of Legos, there's only so much you can do with that, right? So that's the kind of work that we've produced inside the product. And at the same time, what we recognize is that people who are also presenting their ideas in this conceptual design phase do it in other forms and fashions too, other than just watching something on a screen. I've got in my hand, and you can see it on the video, but you can't see it on the radio, is actually a 3D print of a mechanical part that came out of AutoCAD. So essentially you create your three-dimensional design, and for a small fee, you hit a print button in AutoCAD, and you get this in the mail a couple days later. And so you can actually play with it, somebody can actually feel it and give you really good feedback on this particular object, part, whatever.
In fact, I am feeling it, so I'll try to hold it for the camera for Chris. So, but it's not only three-dimensional, but there are parts that move even on it, and the printer knows this from the AutoCAD program and says, "I can do this," and it does.
So this thing has been printed out exactly as you see it in your hand. There was no assembly required. So things are getting much more sophisticated as far as what you do inside your CAD system and what you get on the tactile end. And again, things like this at this scale, you can actually prototype mechanical parts for fitting to make sure it fits before you mill it in steel, and so very very inexpensive to create mock-ups and prototypes to show, again, a non-technical audience to play with. So,
and I love a guest that brings show and tell, because show and tell on the radio does work. It gives us an opportunity to also remind you to swing by the website and check out the video of the interview with Eric Stover, product line manager with AutoCAD, and of course visit autodesk.com/AutoCAD to learn more, including about AutoCAD 2010 coming soon to a design computer near you. Eric, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
We're back with more from San Francisco. I'm Dave Graveline. This is Into Tomorrow on the Advanced Media Network.